Welcome from Oxnard, California. Bill Jones along with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com on what is yet another beautiful day here in Oxnard. We are in, what do we call this, Mickey? The VIP suites right at field level here?
Yes, for the hotel guests.
Okay. All right. So we are stealing property right here. Just for the next few minutes here, we'll get you up to speed on what's going on. As we speak right now, the Cowboys, some of the Cowboys players are out on the field for a walkthrough. Some impressions for you, Mickey. I'll read your work on DallasCowboys.com, your Mick Shots column, talking about the changes on this defense.
Yeah, and I think that we see it on the field, how the Cowboys have upgraded their personnel over last year. And when I was looking, went through a couple of the first 5 games to see who was starting for the Cowboys, especially on defense. And right away, the first game, 7 guys who started for the Cowboys against Philadelphia in the season opener are no longer starting. They're not here. And that kind of tells you where they were with the personnel. And at one point in one of those first 5 games, 8 starters were not here. And at one point, 3 starting linebackers were not here. They're gone. And that tells you how they've, hopefully for their sake, upgraded their personnel on defense, not only player personnel, but they changed out the whole coaching staff too.
You know, and one of the big places that they've improved this defense, it looks like, and it actually started with the Micah Parsons trade last year, acquiring Kenny Clark in that deal, and then using one of those first-round picks to acquire Quinnen Williams. And we did not see, because Kenny Clark wasn't here during the offseason program, he wasn't here during training camp last year. Quinnen Williams, keep in mind, he came in midseason, and it was right after the Marshawn Nealon tragedy. And so now they've had a full off season together, and the impact that they have on the interior of that defensive line and also just on the team in general is immense, I think.
Yeah, I think number one, as you pointed out, their talent. Number 2, their character. These guys are leaders. Christian Parker and Brian Schottenheimer will talk about Quinnen Williams, that he's not loud, he's not outspoken, but when he says stuff, people listen to him. And he's kind of one of those quiet leaders. Like, if you need to know what to do in training camp, just go follow Quinnen Williams. And last week when he did one of his podium interviews, and I wrote about it, and it was like, you know what? Here's the link. Go listen to this, because it was absolutely phenomenal. How not only how he answered the question, but just kind of revealing his personality.
Yep, and I think the makeover, not just from a talent standpoint, but you can tell the prototype, the type of player and the type of people, reliable players, smart players that this coaching staff and the scouting staff have made a point of acquiring.
Well, I've told this story a couple times from the other night when you interviewed Shavon Revel. Fabulous story, fabulous background. He finished the interview. He shook hands with Bill. He shook hands with Video Man Bill. And I was just standing there watching, and he came and shook my hand too. And it's like, seriously? And my other story about character is one day where the players eat outside their dining room. There's a refrigerator, and they keep all the water for the players to have, and a lot of them take it back to their room. So he was sitting there filling up his little bag. I was standing to the side, and he looks up and he goes, "Oh no, go ahead." I said, "No, you finish." He goes, "No, I insist." He don't know me from Adam. I know, we might have been in scrums and stuff, but he probably saw, oh, this poor old man sitting here waiting to get water. I should let him go, right?
Well,
but that's him.
I'll tell you another Shavon Revel story. Just last night at our hotel, he's got family in town, and sports photojournalist Bill Ellis had just come back from his full 12-hour day out here covering camp. He had all his photographer's equipment on the elevator, and Shavon says, "Hey, can I help? Can I help you unload your equipment?"
That's incredible.
But the other thing about Revel, he's a very talented player, and he is one of the early stars the first 2 weeks of this training.
Well, and you know what? When we talked about him on our podcast, I shortchanged him. I said he was 6'1". He is 6'2", going on 6'4", I swear. His size is amazing. His arm length is amazing. And he just needs to play, because we forget last year he was rehabbing still from his ACL, no offseason, no training camp, no preseason, and he starts the season on non-football injury and basically doesn't start practicing till around Thanksgiving,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then he ends up playing 7 games and starts 5, and everybody's like, well, yeah, but sometimes he gets lost. Well, yeah.
And there's another one that wasn't in the off-season program to speak of. He was rehabbing on the side, and it wasn't in training camp. All right, on offense, the one guy I want to ask you about is Ryan Flanoy. He's kind of the offensive version of what Shavon Revel is, and even a similar type story, coming from a small school, a couple of 3 schools in college, came into the league more mature than what you'll see most rookies. And in hearing Clayton Adams, the Cowboys offensive coordinator, talking about him this week, there is a reason that Ryan Flanoy had a breakout season with 40 catches last season, and they have expectations for a lot more from him starting now.
And he has a good story, because he talked about the change from last year to this year. And when he did this recent interview, he said, last year when I got to training camp, I was wide receiver number 6. He said, now I come in as number 3. And that's the jump he made. But that would be expected from a guy that kind of grew up very close to where I did in the south side of Chicago. As a matter of fact, the high school he went to, and obviously probably 45 years later, right, was one of our rivals, right?
Okay.
And so that neck of the woods produced some great athletes.
Who knows, you might have played against his grandfather.
I might have, yeah, absolutely. Although I didn't get to play much, right?
I'm surprised.
But he's, I don't know why, with my speed, Bill. But he another interesting thing about him, and to show you how aware, someone asked him, he came in here, his rookie year was number 80, and he changed to number 19. And they said, why? And he goes, well, I understand the tradition the Cowboys had at 88 with the guys play there, but they also had a tradition at 19. He knew about Miles Austin. He knew about how he had a big game against the Chiefs when he had his breakout season. He knew about Amari Cooper, but as Bill said, did he know about Lance Allworth and Renzel? And I said, yeah, he probably didn't back in the day.
All right, and finally, Mickey, how much are you looking forward to taking the trip down the coast as the Cowboys on Tuesday will have a practice with the Los Angeles Rams?
Yeah, I think that'll be more revealing than, I know they're in pads here and the competition is high, but all I can think about is the last 2 years when the Rams came here and they rocked the Cowboys. The Cowboys were not ready for the level of intensity and competition the Rams brought here. Well, I bet Schottenheimer makes sure they're ready for this one. And I think we'll get a better feel for where some of these newcomers, some of the draft choices, by the way, and when we were talking about personnel on defense changing, well, what did they do with their first 3 picks? Defensive guys, right? And they all look like they're challenging for starting jobs right now.
And it's a Rams team featuring Myles Garrett, the imminent return of Aaron Donald, and Highland Park's Matthew Stafford coming off an MVP season. The pick of many to be in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 61 in their own stadium at SoFi Stadium.
How about that?
Just down the road from where Jerry Jones was born.
And it sounds like, listening to what McVay said about Aaron Donald's tryout. Yeah. He's going to be on this team. And I think he said it somewhat tongue-in-cheek. He said, greatest tryout we ever had.
All right, for Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Check out his work there. I'm Bill Jones, and that's it. An update from here with the Cowboys in Oxnard, California.